picks and bans as far as layers and Scream goes. And we will see if there is overlap in picks and bans for game number 1 between the Olympus Bolts and the Solar Scarabs live in studio. We got 2 in-studio matchups for you here today.
What a treat.
What a treat, huh? We
That's
got
right.
one tomorrow as
Look
well.
At us.
Look at us. Who thought we'd be here?
Not me.
Not me. Wait, you say that. I could.
Yeah,
I
you
stole
did
your
both.
line. I stole your one and only line in the bit. I apologize there, Myth. Old Bolts find themselves in that first pick slot, Solar Scarabs in the second. And so things, and think about what Slaney said there. Better off, and you know, it's an important kind of takeaway. Better off are the Solar Scarabs, and Bobby gets something that he's comfortable with when the front line feels like they're able to operate within a realm of comfort here. So I think the Solar Scarabs and maybe then the Olympus Bolts are able to prioritize taking some of those away if you're looking at the Bolts and picking some of those early on. SOT deserves to be a topic of conversation every time the Solar Scarabs are playing, because you look at aggressive and mechanically skilled solo lane players here in this league. Over the last couple matchups at least, SOT has moved himself up that list.
Yeah, SOT has been so consistent. I mean, what was it, a 1 versus 3 turnaround kill that he was able to find up against the Jade Dragons? I mean, he is just an incredibly talented mechanical player and also the champion of the Solar Scarabs 1v1 on her Joust tournament. If you want to see those, make sure you're tuning in on Mondays. What?
You played in a couple of those, right?
No.
I mean,
I'm not a player. I'm a caster.
He won the Scarabs versus Scarabs Joust tournament. You played in a couple after the fact.
You're misremembering.
You didn't?
No, I didn't.
Got it. Somebody else on the caster team was in there losing.
Probably aggro.
Yeah, it must have been. No, he was with me in the pod. He was,
Oh,
he was
maybe
with
it
me in the
was
side room. No, Hindu wasn't in that day.
Well, let's go ahead and stop dragging through those and instead take a peek at these bans, Dave. It is Uhl, Sylvanas, and Geb banned away by the Bolts, and the Solar Scarabs going to take their eyes a little bit more so towards that Soul Lane, Odin, and Nike removed with the Morgan at the top.
That leaves Artio open. This is something we saw. I was admittedly surprised if back-to-back games the Jade Dragons got Artio in our previous set after Artio, yeah, right there, 80% ban rate, 20% pick rate, so 100% pick ban if you want to do the math on that.
I do.
100% pick
so 80
ban.
plus
80
20,
plus 20, 100% pick ban.
Okay.
But I was surprised, admittedly, that Artio had made it through and was able to be shut down a couple times by just more obnoxious frontline. I am curious. Look, I mean, these teams scrim. They practice things throughout the week. They're coming in with a game plan here today. I don't imagine you pivot from that all that much. But just how annoying and comfortable the front line of the, oh my God, why am I blanking on? The Titans looked in our previous set. My brain is melted.
It was 2.5 hours, man.
Right, 2.5 hours. With how comfortable those compositions look, I wonder if there's, you know, these guys are in the studio watching the games. I wonder if there's kind of split-second game plan pivots here maybe in some of the drafts, because those front lines were near unkillable in our previous set. So far, not the makings of that, with Morgan and Nike banned out on one side, Geb banned out on the other, so the front lines will at least have to be a little bit different. Artio plus Terra, though, Myth, you talk about staunch front lines as well as some good supplementary healing. You got both if you're the Bolts.
Yeah, they've got great in-combat healing from Artio in that Druid form. Going to be able to apply triple heals if you're able to find 3 targets. Terra with Earth and Fury, having that late-game auto-win condition and pressing 4, just so good, not only at applying damage, but also a burst of healing to your team. But I think maybe more so interesting inside of this set so far is Bobby inbound going towards this Umoja. I mean, the conversation around Umoja and the Solar Scarabs originally was, you know, they keep playing it, but Bobby cannot. He's not very good at it, and that is no longer the case. A lot of strides have gone towards this Umoja play for the Solar Scarabs, and now he's an incredible threat on this pick. The Riptides have been great, the ultimates as well. His positioning has improved significantly. Maybe through the help of Scream on this Tsukiyomi, could find a lot of early game presence.
Do you have all of Gore's spreadsheets pulled up on that computer over there?
Don't tell me the narrative. It's so hard to navigate.
Gore, no, you're on crutches. I was gonna ask him to pull up what the win rate now is on inbound for Umoja, and I feel bad because Gore has crutched his way over here, and he is helping us out. But it hasn't
on the wrong sheet.
All right, so Mifflin was way off base here. Look at Gore. God, what a trooper he is. He crutches his way on in, helps Mifflin out with the hefty spreadsheets he's
13
got.
total games. That's from Gore here.
So 13 total games inbound on Umoja. And we're waiting with bated
keep
breath.
talking. 2. So
all right, I'll admit I was expecting
more.
I was fully expecting that the win rate had
2 wins, by the
vastly
way.
improved. There was a while though where it hadn't won, right?
Yeah,
I mean, it was
a
like
long
0 and
time.
it was like
It was
0 and 8.
0%.
It was like 0 and 8 or something. So the wins have flowed.
That's significantly more.
It is
infinitely more.
It is infinitely
infinitesimally.
more. All right, it is infinitely more. We're sticking with the blue crew though. Umoja Tsukiyomi follows up on that. And so you're giving Scream some playmaking potential here, Mifflin, out of the jungle, and kind of a free ticket to the backline with that piercing Moonlight.
You are, and he's got some decent targets already inside of the Izanami. That leap, so easy to track with the piercing Moonlight. You leave a little dust trail to wherever you jump towards, so Scream should be able to find that target relatively easily. That said, if he's diving deep into the backline, he's going to have to contend with picks like Terra and Ardio. What was that?
You leave a little dust trail?
Yeah, you leave a little dust trail.
You learn something new every day.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's like
Biakai on Twitter saying you found out you can upgrade your acorn out of base.
Yeah, what? He didn't know that.
Oh, he tweeted about it, and then there was a whole thread of people after 8 years of playing the game, discovering things for the first time.
Oh, congratulations! Today I learned.
I would like to think that me discovering there's a dust that might be bad. I don't know. Maybe that is bad. We're gonna move on as quickly as possible.
You gotta think about it balance-wise. If she were able to leap and be invisible, and you don't know where she starts, that's tough to deal with.
Oh wait, where she starts? I thought you meant it
follows you to the leap.
Right.
Yeah.
Right, but you don't leave a dust trail as you're walking.
No, as you're walking.
Okay, okay. So I didn't learn anything new today, and thank God for it. We gotta lock it down here, Miff. We got a good one to make our way through without our final brain cells leaving us. Tiamat and Raijin, final two bans here for the Solar Scarabs. Of course, the Bolts, Venenu specifically, needing something out of the mid. How about this Discordia? And actually, I spy a sneaky chalk pick here as well, and that might be worth diving into. But I do want to talk about Discordia first. Has seen a rise in play. You know, it's kind of big man Tings for a while, extended out to a few of the different mid laners here in this league. I think Venenu can play it pretty well. Baronic in that conversation. Do you think Discordia is in a pretty good spot right now?
I do. I mean, she's got some of the best self-peel of any mages inside of the game. Strife's so incredibly hard to deal with, especially if you're getting multi-targeted dived, or dove rather. I love it when there's two people trying to dive in. I'm playing Discordia. Drop Strife on your feet, drop Unruly Magic at your feet, Golden Apple if you so choose, and you're probably able to remove somebody from the map. But I think maybe the main strength of Discordia is the passive, giving somebody on the map, whoever's got top damage on your side, additional power. Whoever is succeeding just starts to succeed more. The rich get richer. Feels pretty nice.
How about Pele now for Lasbra? In the last 6 games, hasn't played it. Been a couple Ravens, Loki, Set, Daji, Nike for Laz. What kind of playstyle do you need on this Pele? And do you think Lasbra fits that playstyle? You
want to go in aggressive, and you want to get involved very early on. Leverage that movement speed to maneuver the map a little bit more quickly than every other jungler. And if you can remember back to Phase 1, Phase 2, there was this thing called the cringe gank, and that was later coined just the Lasbra gank because he was the only one that held on to doing it for like an extra 4 months. Pele is the type of god that can do exactly that. She can find her way inside the dual lane just a little bit earlier than everybody else. And when you've got late-game hyper-carry picks like Morgan Le Fay or like great late-game team fight presence of the Ardio and the Terra, Pele is going to act as a great bridge to that point.
All right, so I said Scream on the Tsukiyomi myth. Looks like it will be SOT on Tsukiyomi.
Agreed.
And Scream on the Hun.
What are your initial thoughts on it?
I really like it. I actually think, and this is if memory serves correctly, one of the first times we got to see Tsukiyomi solo was as a counter to specifically Cthulhu over in the duo or solo lane. Like it was just something to take up against a lot of the Guardians at the time that had been taking over. And it was something, I think that, along with Set, Finoke was playing a lot of various and sundry gods. I think it's something that up against the Ardio, like maybe lane matchup, you're not expecting anything crazy, but team fight wise, it's going to be insane. You get 2 assassins, one of them's going to be a little tankier, but still diving the backline. As long as Sot can make it through this beginning, fine. Jeez, Lasbra.
Getting a nice little pick there against Baronic at level 1. Doesn't have that leap available, and Lasbra with just a little bit too much damage here at this level 2. First blood goes to the Olympus Bolts. Maybe a little bit too much for this Ardio, but now the Ardio has hit level 3, does have potential access to all abilities in that kit, so the clear could be strong, but it seems that SOT is unrelenting in that continued aggression here in that solo lane. Stewart, again, has to use that Bifrost inbound, caught in the middle of the wall. He'll take about half of his health, but so will Jake. Some good poke coming back from Stewart.
And I really like the damage. Like, Stewart, look, we have to look at the way this duo lane looks. It could be good, but Sot's in trouble.
Sot in danger. A knockup is good, and Lasbra is making waves across the map. Haddix gets the kill. SOT falls down. 2 kills up for the Bolts and maybe more. A good double stun from Jake and a double root. make sure that he gets out of danger in this duo lane. But another big pick over here for Lasbra on this right side.
I am a little worried now. I specifically think Solar Troll has a lot of capabilities to fight back. This might be a big fight for him.
Scream goes in. The somersault is good to slow him down, but the healing back from Lasbra, not enough to keep him alive. It's Scream who gets the kill, and Haddock slowed down. SOT looking to strike right back, but the dash from Haddock might just be enough to cover the distance. SOT, can he make it in time? He'll get some damage. Yeah, looking for the basic to go through, trying to weave it in. He'll find it right back behind the minion. SOT strikes back, and quickly the Scares put 2 of their own right on the board.
Plus they get a blue buff, plus they still have the minion
unanswered.
waver. And then things might be looking really bad for the assassin over there. You not only help get a kill there for your jungler, but you also pick up a kill onto the opposing solo laner. You're in the lead now.
Oh, Baronic taking a huge chunk, and Lazarus got more than enough damage with that volcanic lightning right at the tier 1 tower line. He will slam into Baronic, puts him in the dirt a second time, and Baronic not giving out of a whole lot of fun.
Usually come out from this player god combo. I also have to give shout outs to Inbound because the 2 and 13, I guess it's technically 2 and 11 win-loss that he has on this Yamoja.
Oh, not again.
Not great.
Not
Come on, let me
again.
talk about Bobby!
SOT in danger. The assassin makes his way over, but SOT has lost his path out. His ultimate is down. The chase is on. The ultimate from Awesome Jake, and the damage from Haddock are enough to put him out. Lasbra credited to the kill. That's 3 up for the jungler of the Olympus Bolts. And the Scarabs do not get an inch to breathe on any side of the map.
I just want to say that Inbound looks good on Yamoja. That's all I was going to say. They're going for a red buff invade. I don't even know if they can do this just with the way that the pressure is. They clear that fast enough. That is pressure onto where they know they can find Inbound control. Gets out from a stun just slightly early, which with, Haddock's playing RDO, Terra on the other side, there's going to be a whole lot of CC that Inbound's going to be happy that he's not getting locked down by.
Jake again back in the duo lane, trying to be a menace towards Stewart. The Dark Portal does so much damage, and the ultimate afterward just guarantees that Jake's able to take him down. A quick pick up against the hunter of the Solar Scarabs, Olympus Bolts. They now got 5 kills to their name here, just 7.5 minutes in.
Things like that. But realistically, you're going to feel the second relic when Jake gets it a lot more.
And speaking of a relic for Jake, he's already upgraded his bracer, so he'll be sure to get that Sentry Ward online anytime that he needs be. On a 100-second cooldown timer, he'll be able to get a Sentry that he can place just about anywhere. You see it right behind them. But again, it's not only a Sentry, it's power if you're over 50% health and movement speed if you're under. So it's a nice little getaway or a nice initiation. It sets up for this Gold Fury nicely. They've got it down to half, but they'll leash it almost right away. Even Haddox is rotated over. Lasbra looking for a pick target here. SOT takes a bit of the damage, but he'll quickly go ahead and shimmy his way on out of the back.
I like the way that this is handled because when you look at it, I'm much more afraid of that being stolen by the Scarabs, and I think you can confirm it on the side of the Bolts.
SOT with the ultimate, and ult from Scream will separate the backliners. Lasbra's low, but his healing from the passive is keeping him alive for a little bit too long. Baronic puts him down, and Venenu finds SOT all alone in the back, but it's Inbound dealing with Venenu. He'll take him down with the River's Rebuke. Now it's Jake wheeling away to the backside of the fight. Haddox will scoot himself on out. Solar Scarabs, they come up with a 2-1 trade.
It's a really good set of kills to be able to pick up. You get Lasbra and Vin, 2 massive thorns in your side, and you control them. You have to be cautious starting those up if you're the Bolts.
Will be a shell as a second relic picked up by Inbound to go along with that horrific emblem. So a bit of extra shielding, a little bit of extra slows there, just to make sure that he has everything that they might need. Interesting, we don't really see the shell very often, especially kind of since it's nerf. It seems to have somewhat fallen out of favor by a lot of players and by a lot of supports, but we will see it here to kind of try and help them out up against Jake or Haddox. I would have thought maybe it would have been Curse Donk to try to go up against them, but maybe feels that shields are a little bit more valuable. Gold Fury started up by the Bolts. Haddox at the front line to try and zone away Inbound and doing a great job so far, but Inbound can just walk right in. Gold Fury leashed at half health, and maybe that's just because of how much damage Jake and Haddox are taking. The frontliners for the Olympus Bolts starting to get chipped away here by the carries of the Solar Scarabs.
Divine Ruin and Brawler's Beat Stick are already available and potentially a little bit more anti-heal. With no Curse Donk available for the Scarabs, all the relics are already locked in and it's not on board. It does mean, and at least worries me slightly, about what Jake and Haddox are going to be able to do in a lot of these late-game team fights. We've seen several times little tiny heals, especially with the Soul Gem coming into it, that have made a big difference. But you also have to look at the team fight engage. I mean, River's Rebuke plus Fear No Evil is so good from the Scarabs.
What a very quick returning Gold Fury pull by the Scarabs, but with Jake showing up, they're kind of half committing to it, maybe looking for the fight. A big stun by Jake, catches 2. Gold Fury is falling low. River's Rebuke come out, and that's going to guarantee the Fury. That one goes the way of the Solar Scarabs, but Haddox doesn't want to give it up. A Riptide from Inbound might be the one that stops that, and the Golden Apple thrown by Baronic doesn't hit anybody, but it also makes sure that nobody walks forward through that pit of the
1,000
jungle.
gold.
18 minutes in, that's not really all that. Experience still being relatively dead even across the board. No real level leads aside from Scream about half level him, Barracuda half level over Stewart, but it's Scream who starts with the fight. Also Jake pushed away by the Fear No Evil. The golden apple off the mark by Baronic, and that might be just enough for Jake to try and get out of here. Riptide not going to yank him back, and instead it's going to push the rest of his team. Awesome Jake may have just been able to survive because of that one missed apple by Baronic, and might be able to even turn this fight back around. It's inbound. Feared out, slowed down, and Barracuda picks him up. Baronic under the tower gets bursted by Lasbrov from almost dead to turning it all back. Jake and the Bolts get 2.
That was nuts the way Jake survives that. First off, uses the med. He did pick that up for his second relic, but also good use of his ult, good use of his double dash, the root, the works that come through. If that golden apple from Baronic connects, that play is not able to happen, but Jake being able to live, that was just slight off the mark ultimate from the Scarabs make it so much easier for him to not only live through it, but then turn around, set up a lot of damage. Wind Demon was just finished for Barra. He gets a lot to throw out there. And also had to throw out the damage that we are seeing out of Venenu. He has been putting in quite a bit of work. And all of a sudden, what felt like it was going back and forth, and even, I mean, that just skews so heavily in favor of the Bolts. That was a beautiful play. But look at the Fire Giant.
Fire Giant started by the Scarabs,
No
almost
way.
at half health just from SOT and Scream alone. Now that Stewart's rotated, and a very slow response time
They
for the
see
Bolts.
Barra.
Barracuda has found
Then sees
inbound. Venenu is here to try and maybe steal this one away. The Fire Giant low. The Rivers Rebuke come out. The Solar Scarabs get the FG. Scream's able to make it out. Barracuda trying to hunt him down as he can find him, but Stewart's the one who grabs it. SOT with the Piercing Moonlight used the Riptide as a means of getting out after only a single teleport to Haddix. Baronic now is dealing with Lazarus, throws out the Golden Apple and hits him. And everybody on the Solar Scarabs are trying to find a war path out, and they do manage to do so. Fire Giant snuck away by the Scarabs. They're able to get that cheeky little play and put themselves right back in it.
Look, the Bolts have nothing to follow up with other than maybe a couple of towers, and that is going to be a saving grace. It won't be an end state for them just yet, although you do have to worry with an exposed Phoenix, so you want to try and make things a little more equal for you. You've got Stewart with a Fire Giant, the rest of your team grouping up, and things are mostly even. This is a great spot for the Scarabs.
It seems like the Bolts are willing to try and make a defense here at this tier 2. The frontliners are right up at the forefront of it. Venenu gets a nice little heal back with that Soul Gem, so he'll be topped back to full health. The Solar Scarabs are slowly gathering around. Look at Lasper's positioning. Wants to try and make a pincer around the backside into making their way in the tower with this Fire Giant. It only takes a few seconds if Stewart can get in there try and throw some damage, but it's inbound who's stuck in the middle of the tower. Lasbra sneaking around that backside, but no further initiation just yet.
And I like the way they're playing this. Look at Lasbert just hanging around. This is very patient, but there's a ward that will catch him. Actually, I think he might have been caught at this point. Yeah, he's been pinging that thing left and right. So they know he's there. They know he's waiting. And it's just going to be how they retaliate to when he does engage.
Inbound under the tower. Double slow. One on Scream, one on inbound. The Fear No Evil pushes Haddix away, and the Golden Apple whiffs right through the uprights. And Lasbra, that's his call to go right in. Ultimate slams right into inbound. Jake gets the credit for the kill. The Rivers Rebuke crash onto nobody. And Lasbra and Haddix are able to make it out. Jake diving in the back line. Stun, force the beads out of SOT. And a quick retreat from the Scarabs, but it's an even quicker engage and a reinitiation here by the Bolts.
And I love this pathing from Jake. He's going to be able to cut them off a little bit faster. He's got the CC they need. They might be able to turn this fight around, but the Scarabs want to go back in.
SOT with the Piercing Moonlight right against Barracuda. It's Haddix who's called out. Stewart gets the credit for it. Barracuda goes down to the damage from Veronica. Now Lasbra's low. Awesome Jake slowed down by the Caltrops. But without that massive front line, without that big beef out of the Solar Scarabs, they're not quite willing to dive under this tier 2 tower. They'll get their picks, but that's all they're going to get here.
Honestly, with the crit that Barra has online, if he lives a little longer, that is easy kill territory. The healing, though, even though it's slight when you don't necessarily have it. It's all Fire Giant region right now without Yamoja around.
But Barracuda's relics, a little bit worse for wear here. About
Yeah.
30 more seconds until those beads are back up. That's the most important thing here for Barra in this next fight.
The good news for the Bolts, and the bad news for the Scarabs. Last time, Scarabs, first off, they're going to be on this, so they have defensive positioning in the Fire Giant pit, and they're starting that thing much quicker than I thought they were going to. I was going to say the Bolts are going to be ready for the fight, but I don't even know.
It is melting. Fear No Evil pushes Jake out, but Haddix is here. He's not able to take the Fire Giant away, and he eats a Golden Apple and a Rivers Rebuke to zone him out, but it's Lasbra in the backline. Volcanic Lightning in the middle of 3. He's getting some good damage against Stewart, but the crits are just too much. Stewart turns it around and takes him down. Barracuda in danger by SOT, who used the fadeaway to get over the wall. SOT so tanky, but Scream finds Venenu. Barracuda needs to find a way in, but he just can't get the damage that he's looking for. Scream slams him with the overhead smash of the auto after Scream gets up the double kill. Haddix is low and being pincered by the rest of the team. The Bear has nowhere left to go. It's SOT who puts him down.
I think you go through the tier 2. I think you run through the Phoenix. You've got 30 seconds without Lazarus, 30 seconds in a 1v5. I think the Scarabs take this game.
Scarabs, tier 2 tower down.
You gotta go
Phoenix
faster.
standing. You've only got 2 towers up, and you've got 20 seconds until Lazarus back. It's only Jake to defend, and he's getting all that health right back. To the throne room they go. They've got 13 seconds to try and do it. Jake is holding them out as much as he can. Fear No Evil will push him away, but not quite take him down. Tighten down to half, and that's going to be game number 1. Going to the Solo Scarabs and get one more off the tail end, and a nice little deicide to round out game 1 for the Scarabs.
Finally find a way to break through their game 1 curse.
And here's the thing about how in Phase 3, they've only ever lost a singular game, too. So we'll see if the Bolts can make a little bit of history on the other end. But you're right, man. The Solar Scarabs come out ahead inside of this one. Early game presence, to be sure. But maybe more so the macro play is what impresses inside of game 1. 2 phenomenal Fire Giant pulls. Nets them a couple of siege attempts that puts the Olympus Bolts off balance. And it felt like the Bolts weren't allowed to play proactively post the first Fire Giant. Before that, they were doing pretty all right.
I mean, gold-wise, you're even here, but kill-wise, the Bolts are ahead, and you're right, Miff. It's these Fire Giant pulls that just work out so well for the Solar Scarabs. They get the FG, and then they get out alive, and that's what's pivotal. You make these aggressive calls. You got to be able to get the objective and then get out with minimal casualties on the other end. It did end up being Tsukiyomi solo, Scream on the Hunbat side of the jungle. And Miff,
So
we're starting to see why this pick is higher prioritized. Not only does the build synergize, and that is a high damage build from Scream, 308 out of the jungle. The only one who didn't die here in this game is Scream. But now, you know, the utility's always been there for Hunbats, but finally the damage is a little bit clearer with the way that mace tree looks, and Scream, a facilitator through and through for this team, looked great here in game 1. Thanks to Miff for giving us the AOK to move into P's and B's for game 2. Bolts find themselves back in that first pick slot. And remember, you look back, some of the conversations we had were around, do you take the Sylvanas away from inbound? How do you prioritize this front line? The Solar Scarabs had similar questions to answer as well. And you left open the Umoja, which grabs another win here for inbound. And so 2-13 or 2-11?
3-13.
3-13.
3-14.
3-14.
Nailed it.
Now becomes the slash line. But all that matters is that you get a win here in your most recent game. So some comfort for inbound maybe returning on this Umoja pick. And so I think that does put the Bolts in a bit of a unique spot here. Do you continue to take away the Sylvanas? Well, the answer is yes.
You do, but last time it was also the Geb banned out by the Bolts inside of this one. Could switch it up and try and toss that towards the Umoja, but I don't think I'd rather play against Geb, so instead maybe just going to try and reprise the exact same bans we saw last time around. So our Scarab saying, hey, you got to do it yourself. We're not going to be the ones to ban it this time. But the Olympus Bolts inside of the first pick position do have the potential to leave at least one of them up and just strip it away, utilizing that first pick as another ban.
Geb banned out by the Bolts, so we're going to stick the same as we did in game 1, at least up to this point. How about some respect on Stewart here as well? The Uller immediately banned out. Right, for the Stuhler, if you want to get real specific here.
And I do.
Banned out back-to-back games, game 1 and game 2. Nike off the table. Solar Scarabs don't want to play against that one, so it was Ardio left open as the eyebrow raiser, and yet again, Ardio left open, and yet again, Ardio will get picked.
So the Solar Scarabs could just go ahead and try and pick those exact same 2 picks that we saw last time around, but we could also see maybe some mid-lane priority here. I mean, Raijin has been completely dominant still. Tiamat seems to have fallen off the face of the planet, going unpicked and unbanned for the most part, but Umoja is still available. Bobby has a great performance on it in game 1. If the Solar Scarabs are worried about being able to get that Hun bots again, they could also take that pretty high up in the priority order. But as of right now, the Bolts aren't showing too much of their hand. And now with PBM piloting Ardio inside of the last set, we could make a clear argument that there's some flex potential here. I'm not going to, because I think it is likely headed for the Soul Lane, but we could.
You could see it.
You could.
So you did, in a way, make the argument.
I did.
You didn't lay out the facts, but
Not
you
a
did
single
say
time.
that is a possibility. So you are going to prioritize the Heimdall again for Stu, but you're sticking with Discordia a little bit earlier on in the draft here if you're the Solar Scarabs. So both of your carries locked in. Is there ever a downside to this, Myth? I mean, you get some of the priority carries for your team, but are you revealing too much of how your backline wants to operate too early on?
Now Lazar can say, hey man, I'm just going to go ahead and pick something counter to these two carries, and I would argue Susano probably feels pretty good right here if the Bolts so choose. Bifrost, you have to stand inside of that crystal for a little while before you're able to utilize that teleport. Pull him out with Susano. Discordia teleports away, or jumps away rather, hides inside of a stealth. Yeah, Susano's pulls the entire size of that as well. So maybe an opportunity for the Bolts to go with that pick inside of this slot, but it's not something that I closely associate with Lazara. Obviously capable of playing that pick, no stranger to it. Okay, man. How you going to do me like that, bro? I just said Tiamat has been getting ignored in the SPL.
No, but look, well, you're not wrong. I mean, what is that, 78% pick ban rate? It was a lot higher when Tiamat first came out. You're
100%.
You're not wrong. It is decreased in priority, Tiamat has. There is great bounce back potential for you here, Mifflin, if the Susano gets picked. I would argue even I'll give you love if it also gets banned, if it picked or banned. If the Scarabs ban it away or it gets picked, you are right back on track here, regardless of Tiamat getting picked up. A small call from Mifflin there as well as Hunbats. You mentioned if you want to prioritize that again, you can do that. Earlier on here in the draft, Assassin picked, not the Susano here, so one of your avenues back into success off the table. But jokes aside about the Susano specifically, it's a very important pick now for Lasbra. You know, the Pele was able to find some pressure early, didn't quite find that same success down the stretch in the game, and so through the first three Miff, the Solar Scarabs have given carries and initiation. There you go, Miff.
Let's go.
Love that. All right, so Mifflin right back on track here. Susano taken away, and that's actually a decent knock. I mean, jokes aside, you know, Mifflin calling it whatever, that would have been a great pick into Heimdall and Discordia. So now Lazarus got to look somewhere else.
Yeah, Lazarus might go towards something like the Surcat inside of. Why am I going to keep guessing Lazarus' pick, right? Well, let's let Lazarus show us what he can do on his own. Oh, please.
You're not guessing. You're saying here are picks.
Oh, you're right. You're right.
I'm
laying out options.
This is how analysis works.
Are you serious? That's what it is?
Here are some things
Aggro told me I had to be right.
If you make a definitive statement, it needs to be right.
Okay.
If you say Lasbra is going to pick Camazotz here in this game, you got to say it and you got to be right.
Okay, well, maybe I'm just not going to take a stance. I'm just not going to do it.
Okay. Fair enough.
Why would I? Kepri locked in for the Solar Scarabs here, adding a little bit of annoyance to the draft on the side of the Scarabs. And now the all-in engaged potential of Hun Bots will have that added safety net of Scarabs Blessing on the other side. Bolts now get to go look towards their jungle pick. I'm thinking Surcat. I think Camazotz a pretty good guess as well. Surcat maybe a little bit easier to perform on this time around, as that ultimate will afford you a little bit of additional CC immunity inside of that Fear No Evil, but we'll see which way the Bolts elect to go with it this time around.
Hard to ever argue against Kepri, Miff. I think Kepri has made its way to the forefront of the conversation. Mifflin wouldn't ever argue against it.
Why would I?
I'm not sure, Miff. Not sure why you would. There's still a lot available. It is Camazotz for Lasbury. You should have called it when you had the opportunity to do so. Do you like the jungle?
Should have known.
Do you like the jungle pick into what the Solar Scarabs have drafted?
I do. You've got great survivability, 4 seconds essentially of damage immunity with Bat Out of Hell. I mean, you're able to just press it every single time this Hunbots is using Fear No Evil. It's actually got a pretty decent startup time, so you can just reactionary use it to avoid that fear every single bit of the way. But that damage output being so one note now from this jungler, he doesn't really have any forms of CC outside of the slow from Vampiric Bats, meaning that he is all in engage against a team composition that has a Kepri on the other side. All that single target damage very easily to immune out with the Scarab's Blessing.
Wow, we're sticking with it, huh? Tsukiyomi solo back again for SOT. There was kill pressure early on in this game. Looked all right against the RDO. Surprised at all, Miff, that we're going back to it for the Scarabs.
Picked up as a first relic.
Yeah, but honestly, especially with the passive shield that Kepri's going to help accrue, not only for himself, but probably for Stuart once they join up in lane, it's going to be a nice little cushion, a nice little window where Bera's not going to be able to get a good amount of damage. Same thing for Jake. They were dominating this lane last time around. What was it, Terra Izanami that was controlling it? And so while Hachiman maybe slows that down a little bit, I think they're still going to be able to push back the Scarabs much like they are now.
Jake is not going to let up. He'll go right for Stuart, right for the throat, man. Just immediately trying to go gung-ho up against this Scarabs roster, but it's inbound, and Stuart, who have the lane pressure, an immediate route by inbound, puts Jake under that tier 1 tower, and well, we get to see pretty much a repeat here in the solo lane. In fact, it's almost an entire repeat here from the Scarabs. The only thing that changed out was the emoji for a Keprian.
Yeah.
Man, what a god to get a trade out for. Oh no, I don't get to play Yamoja. We saw, what, like 4 frontliners banned away.
Played Yamoja, and it's not a lot. So it's 14 for each of those, 28 times total that she's shown up against them, which is about a third of their games total, maybe a little more. It's interesting to see this switch because I feel like this is maybe not a better pick overall for inbound, considering the control that Yemoji can bring, the healing that she can bring. But kept results just good.
Haddix and Lasbra with the early 2v2 scuffle. SOT is low. The stun is jumped over by Lasbra and a quick beads. SOT goes down first, but Lasbra's in danger. Scream misses the somersault, and the minions are holding Lasbra alive. The heal from the Vampire Bat is just enough. Haddix and Lasbra team up and take the first early kill, a double for Lasbra. Barracuda low on the other side, and so is inbound. Good stun from Awesome Jake, but Stewart is zoning for his support to make sure to keep him out, but Bolts strike first on the right side.
And 2 kills at that. You shut down 2 big targets. Last time around, that's where the Scarabs started their kills. And now, yeah, Baronic's in trouble. He needs to play this safe. He should still be able to get his red buff that he dropped there, although Vin's playing Guardian over it just in time to shut him down. And that is just really good collapse from them. They've got Guardian scaling, Camazot's healing, and they recognize where the body blocks are. I mean, look at how many hits at the beginning didn't touch on to Lasbra, and then, of course, using the minions around them. It's right as he goes up a second, and then he goes down before it's too
It's an important part of that little team fight there was Haddix was the first one to hit Scream whenever they were fighting inside those minions. Otherwise, it could have been disaster for the assassin.
Yeah,
a little bit of physical protection for Haddix might pay in dividends for him. SOT uses the piercing moonlight, but he'll only bounce back and forth between the two of them inside the midst of them. Lasbra needs the bat out of hell to finish out the fight, and he'll get it with just that first swipe. 3 up for the Bolts early on, establish a very early gold lead, about 700-800 that they've got to their name so far. But Scream is here, wants to make something happen on the other side of the map, and they'll rotate over, get a nice Fear No Evil against Jake, and push him right up into the middle of the team fight. Barracuda has just to sit back and watch as his support falls.
Gold lead from Haddix as well as the level lead starting to show its way, although I say that Scream's actually, or sorry, Solar Troll's the first one to hit level 6 out of the 2 of them, which I'll admit was unexpected by me, which just goes to show that despite the fact that they've shut him down, he's not losing out on too much farm.
Jake wants to try and get something going here again. It's a 3 versus 2. Scream leaps away, but SOT doesn't have the same luxury. Stuck in the middle of 3 and burned down quickly. Haddix gets the credit for the kill, puts his first one on the board. 1-0-3 for him, 3-0-1 for Lasbra.
This game. And so it feels like the Bolts are going to have a lot more of a chance to deal with the Tsukuyomi just by merits of the composition, let alone the fact that they got elite.
Lasbra misses everything on inbound, so he'll be able to walk away. And they're all setting up because this blue buff is coming back, and that's where the target of aggression has been for the Bolts. They want this blue buff, or maybe they just want SOT. Who knows? Maybe it's a little of both. Haddix will immediately dive against SOT and put him under the tier 1 tower and leave Scream inbound to try and secure this buff and maybe try and go for a steal away. It will be secured, and now Scream can go on the back line.
That's a good Fear No Evil.
Finds 3, force the beads on 2 of them, and an ultimate from SOT forced him in the back line, but he's not in the position that he wants to be. Lasbra, credit to the kill. Jake is low, but Scream, he can't find the distance. He can't get in there in time. A Scarab's blessing on top will not be enough to save his life. It'll fade away, and so will Scream's life. Lasbra in the back line with the back out of hell. Does some good damage, but not going to be enough to take down inbound and Baronic. 2 more kills for the Olympus Bolts.
That's just a clean fight from the Bolts. Not only good control for the engage, despite a good Fear No Evil, not enough follow-up, not enough damage. Jake gets tunnel visioned on by Scream.
Assistance on there, and he'll make sure to put that on the board for his team. Actually, he walked away from it. SOT is taking quite a bit of poke here again. He's not having a whole lot of fun now. He got to have the time of his life in game number 1. But Lasbra will immediately dive against Scream. Scream doesn't have a somersault, has the Fear No Evil, finds a way over the wall, and Lasbra will chase him down. Bat out of hell's not ready. Lasbra will take quite a lot of damage from the tower. Scream might be playing with a little bit of fire here. Baronic in the middle of 2 inside of his own tier 1 tower. He'll throw out the golden apple, and it'll tap Awesome Jake, but that's about all it will do, is tap that support. Baronic gets to live. But walking up to that lane, maybe a death sentence. Venenu is right around the corner. Inbound blocks some of the damage to leap in from Venenu. And the knock-up off the mark. Mid laner Baronic, he'll get to live to see another day.
I like the scaling for both of these teams as we go into late game, although I will say again, Artio, Terra, and Tiamat is a very deadly 3 for the Bolts. The Scarabs are going to have to deal with that, especially when things like that are just off the mark. I mean, Lasbra maybe isn't completely dead if you connect on that pull, but it's definitely going to help as bad as bat out of hell gets forced here.
Similar to what the Scarabs did in game 1 with the Fire Giant, able to make nice little clever pulls and really force the hand of the Scarabs, but now it might be the Bolts. The Scarabs force the hand of the Bolts. Now maybe the Bolts try and force the hand of the Scarabs here at the Gold Fury. A rotation from Haddix means that it's a 5-man group up from both these teams, because even Scream and SOT have come over. Awesome Jake gets pulled back in by Inbound. It's a Fear No Evil to hold him off. Stewart strikes first in, but it's a quick revive out of Inbound. Gets Scream out of danger. The Cyclone chases him down, but doesn't get him. It's a knock up against Inbound, and a nice kill for Barracuda. Lasbra in the bat out of hell. Wants something more, and Scream is the one who's low. Haddix chases him all the way to the depths of the Tier 2 tower to take him down. It's 2 swings so far for the Bolts, but SOT's not quite willing to give this up just yet.
You need something big to happen here. You've lost support for support, but your jungler has not been traded out. You at least want 1 kill on the other side. Looks like they might get it.
Oh,
No,
not
Haddix is
enough.
out. No way. 30 HP. And he walks away from that. The Scarabs... Look, I'm not going to say this is falling completely out of their hands, but you feel that one now. You're starting to feel the level discrepancy. You're starting to mainly feel the gold discrepancy between these two teams. They also need a little more survivability. Scream gets caught out, unfortunately, by Haddix. Inbound gets locked down after he throws out his ult. It was just easy pickings for the Bolts.
Right back to the Gold Fury. Inbound, the first one here for the Scarabs, but he's the only one here for the Scarabs. Veronica's being pushed away by Lasbra. Inbound is going to try and do it all on his own, but Haddix will make sure to zone him away. Gold Fury this time will go to the Olympus Bolts with little to no effort needed. Haddix is doing a good job of playing zone.
Compared to what I was expecting here in game number 2. They're still making sure that they're proactive in it. I still think that the biggest, at least, issue right now is the follow-up damage, and that's just going to take time. Veronic maybe needing 1 more item, Stewart as well, versus what the Tiamat's been able to dish out on the other side. Specifically, Lasbra. Lasbra's really been the nuisance on the other side. 4-0-3, if you can deal with the Camazotz early on, which way easier said than done, then I think you can control the fight.
Scream has to use Fear No Evil. Haddix caught in the middle and hit by the Golden Apple and the Piercing Moonlight. A very heavy commitment to taking down this solo laner. They expend 3 ultimates, but at the end of the day, they do take him down. No further answer from the Olympus Bolts. The Scarabs finally able to strike back. SOT does some damage up against Venenu, but Venenu will hold his ground on this Tiamat, fire some shots right back at it. Scarabs, though, they do get a nice little pick.
Feels very heavy-handed, like you said. 3 ults just to kill off Haddix. They do get his blink, and honestly, was undying up to that point. So 2-0-6 is a worthwhile kill, and you get it onto a target, I think, that needs a kill in solo or troll. As long as nothing big happens over the next couple of minutes, you'll be fine. But Veronic's getting put the pressure on.
Veronic taking a lot of damage, and still even more from the root. It's a slow, and the stun not enough to take him down. Stewart rotates over and makes sure to push them away. Even Lasbra is here just to try and commit to this kill. But Veronic's able to sneak by. The wall not quite enough, and that meditation from Inbound on cooldown, that the extra little factor to make sure to keep him alive. Well, everybody is on this left side of the map. Oni Fury has respawned, and everybody's got their eyes on it. And the Solo Scarabs make sure to rotate SOT over. Level 17 on both the Assassins, and a quick engage, a double stun out of SOT, but it's Jake's health bar. That's looking pretty low. He'll walk right through the bracer and get a bit of extra movement speed to walk away, but a lot of health stripped away from the support, and no ultimates burned out of the Scarabs just yet.
Getting rid of Jake, even though he's still hanging around, he's going to have healing. They still don't have a Cursed Ankh and aren't going to be able to get one. So the Scarabs are going to have to deal with the healing the old-fashioned way. Jake's going to be in this, but I like them forcing the fight.
Oni Fury started up. SOT now the one down to half health. And it's a backline with Scream. 2-man Fear No Evil gets the beads from Barracuda and pushes Venenu away, but he'll hold on to his relics. It's a quick disengage by Scream and the rest of the Scarabs. They'll back up, but they're able to poke down Haddix just a little bit more too. Both these frontliners down to half health as this Fury still hasn't been taken yet.
And here's where that healing comes in handy. This is why I'm worried about not having a Cursed Ankh. You've got the shell if you're inbound, which isn't going to be the end of the world. It's helpful in the middle of the team fight. But watch how the Bolts are going to be able to pull this. They're the ones that still theoretically controlling the pace of this fight.
They pull it with 5, but Jake walks up by himself. He'll take a lot of damage. SOT gonna try and close it out, but the healing coming back makes sure to keep Awesome Jake alive. Apple hits, but it's Venenu who picks up SOT first. Inbound in the backline, trying to keep himself and his team alive, but Barracuda picks up Veronic. Scream is low. Stewart takes down Haddix, but it's a 2-for-1 trade. The Solar Scarabs not looking too hot in this team fight. It was 2-for-1 in favor of the Bolts, and now they can go right back to the Oni Fury.
Yeah, Stewart is actually in a great spot to turn some damage around. Unfortunately, the rest of his team doesn't seem to be there to give him the support that he needs as of right now. The healing's just too much on the Bolts. You've got a Brawlers, you've got a Divine Ruin, but you need way more.
From Awesome Jake coming in big, keeping himself and the rest of his team alive. Sure, they lose Haddix, but they get 2. They get the Oni Fury, and they can set up now for this Pyromancer. Barracuda has started it up. Is dealing some decent damage to it, but it's the Bolts kind of posturing up and getting ready for this Fire Giant. Last time it's the Scarabs who were able to start up first. This time it's the Bolts.
I'm going to say watch Scream. Haddix is doing a good job of zoning. But him and Inbound are the two, maybe even Solo Patrol that could get back there.
Lasper and Haddix are zoning all 4 of them away. Inbound wants to step in, but maybe it'll be the rest of the team to do so. Olympus Bolts get the Fire Giant into quick retreat. Lasper's on the tail end of the fight, but he's not committed to going in for a dive or really any kind of fight. They'll get the objective, and it'll be a nice little back away here for the Bolts. But Jake did take a lot of damage tanking that one up. With the Pyromancer, the Bolts able to extend this gold lead, now nearly 8,000 gold to their name. But it's a blink ult in by Scream, finds 3, pushes them and separates them all out. But Jake is low and Scream even lower. Haddix credited for the kill. Barracuda up on the horse, max 3, right in the mouth with it. It's SOT using the piercing moonlight just to get away. Inbound low, and the Scarabs blitzing has worn off of him, and Baronic has no assistance. Haddix takes him down with the healing surge to pick up a second kill in the fight.
Yeah, this one honestly is so far just scrapped up to the fact that the Bolts got a really, really good draft, and they're playing it
He hasn't
just
given
better
up.
overall. Solar Patrol has been sat on, and this is good chase. Yeah, Haddix is going to at least put pressure onto Stewart, help get another kill. They should be able to get rid of Inbound. This might just be game.
I think this might just be game here, Gord. Double kill for Lasper, a double kill for Haddix, and a Phoenix taken out. The Olympus Bolts only have SOT to deal with and this Titan, but SOT doesn't have ultimate, doesn't have a lot of defense, nor a lot of damage. And against a 5-man strong in the Bolts, they're able to close out game number 2 and take us to that coveted Scarab sets game number 3.
And realistically, that's maybe better for them. Think about it this way. Game 2 was so overwhelmingly in favor of the Bolts. This is an inverse Scarab set. They won the first game.
Start to slip away from them. The Bolts are able to compound on that and then take game 2.
No, this was dominance through and through for the entirety of this one. I mean, it started off, what is that, 2 minutes in, Lazar picks himself up, a double kill off
Is it
the
a cringe
screen,
gank if it's on the right side of the map?
I'd argue probably cringier, because you almost never gank the soul lane, right? Yeah, I'd say so. I wish you didn't make me say it, but you did.
Well, no, I just didn't know if it had to be a duo lane gank to qualify as cringy. I mean, you had the same net possibility. I guess when you return then a minute later to do it again is when things get a little interesting. Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, SOT just got sat on this game, and Lasper started it off, and the rest of the Olympus Bolts were able to pile on later on. In a different look in a good way for Haddix on this RDO. It was largely kept in check around those Fire Giant fights in game 1. But it felt like Myth Haddix was just kind of able to do what he wanted here by the end of this one.
Yeah, this time around he had a lot more assistance inside the lane. As you said, SOT got sat on, and that seems to be the proper response to a Tsukiyomi inside of the soul lane. Doesn't have any tried and true escapes, and when you allow Haddix the space to establish a lead, that means that RDO's unleashed, Haddix unleashed. He's on tour for the entirety of the game. Afterward, 4-2-11 for the soul laner, but maybe overshadowed a little bit by the jungler here, 6-0-7.
Barracuda second to top damage in the game, as SOT did 22,000 damage, able to top that one over Barracuda. If the Solar Scarabs were able to carve themselves out a decent advantage. Olympus Bolts back in that first pick spot, and it's hard to imagine, Myth, that picks or bans change up all that much, because they literally didn't. Game 1, Bolts in the first pick slot ban Ullr, Sylvanas, Geb. Guess what they banned in game 2?
Was it Ullr, Sylvanas, and Geb?
It was, and then the Solar Scarabs in game 1 banned Morrigan, Odin, Nike, and then guess what they banned in game 2?
That's tough. Morrigan, Nike, Camazotz.
No, it was really close. It was Morrigan, Odin, Nike.
Darn.
Appreciate you blowing up my bit there, Myth. At any rate, the
no
picks
problem.
and bans were the same throughout the first 3, at least, from game 1 on over to game 2. And so say it with me here, Myth. Ullr, Morrigan, and then we're going to say Sylvanas.
Sylvanas. Well, we got to wait a little bit. The Bolts, they don't ban very quickly, even though they are reprising the same picks. They got to still think about it. They got time to
Does
work
it make sense to keep taking this Sylvanas away from Inbound?
Well, there was an ancient philosopher, Dave, as goes by the name Plato, and he can be quoted as saying, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So the Bolts, I think, can keep running with the same bans.
Go ahead, Myth.
No, that's
keep
it.
going.
No. Okay, well, we can go into some more French philosophers. Jean-Claude Van Damme once said...
He's not French.
His name's John. What do you mean?
What's his last name, Myth?
Van Damme?
That is not French.
What is it then?
I'm 90% sure he's Dutch.
Yeah, Google it. You're going to embarrass yourself. On the broadcast as Ull, Sylvanas, and Gab are removed from the table by the Bolts and the Solar Scarabs. Take out Terra, Odin, and the Morrigan. That's different. It's Plato.
All right, so I was
mad.
wrong. I was wrong.
He's French?
No, he's Belgian.
Oh, that's what waffles are French.
My God. All right. This is unbelievable. We got a pivotal game 3 on the. We're talking about French waffles, Myth.
Well, Belgian waffles, really.
Okay. Yamoja's going to be the first pick here for the Olympus Bolts, so that's a bit of a pivot. It had been RDO first pick in back-to-back games here, and it is a big change. Inbound was able to get that in game 1, not really looked at in game number 2. And if the Solar Scarabs are sticking with their trend, they draft Heimdall, and then something to follow it up, but they will not stick with their trend, Mifflin. We will change things up, and Plato will have to wait for another day. We are changing things. And RDO will head on over to
We sure are changing things, Dave. Yeah, RDO locked in, so the Solar Scarabs, with the first opportunity they've had inside of this set to take RDO, do exactly that. And Nike selected on the other side, maybe proving that the Bolts and the Scarabs have been banning this one out for a reason. High priority picks and a strong front line already.
Sorry, I had to collect my thoughts for a second.
What are you thinking about?
Whether or not I want to finish this death segment with you or not. Jean Kui, that's going to give us something to talk about here, Miff. When Yamoja first pick, Jean Kui.
Did you mean it?
I did mean that, and I'm going to double down. Still considering standing up and leaving. Jean Kui picked up for the Olympus Bolts here. We have seen some flexibility, haven't we, out of this pick, where has been solo lane once or twice when we've seen it, but it is something I think Venenu has picked and has enjoyed in the past. And that will not be the case. Venenu will be on the Tiamat, and that means Haddock Smith on Jean Kui in a game 3.
Yeah, surprised to see it picked in general, but picked this early more specifically, right? Like, why are you taking Jean Kui in your top 3? I don't think that's getting banned out, and instead now gives the Solar Scarabs the opportunity to look for some counter picks. Nemesis tends to be the answer to Jean Kui in years of past when that god was a little bit more meta, to say the least. And well, when you start releasing spirits from that giant bag on your back, gives you a little bit additional protections. Nemesis does a really good job of stripping those away. We'll see if the Solar Scarabs elect to go that path or not. I'd argue that they might as well just run back the Hunbots, though. I mean, Scream had a great performance on it in Game 1, maybe slips up a little bit inside of Game 2, but CC like that, it's hard to argue against.
It sure is, and so my eyes glued to how this solo lane starts to look moving forward for the Olympus. Not starts to look, how it does look in game moving forward for the Olympus Bolts.
Yep.
Maybe it synergizes well with Haddock's playstyle. I mean, on the Jean Kui, you have to kind of run it down, right? I mean, it's the
Just
style
facts.
of pick that you need to walk forward. You have to play aggressive, and you hope that the rest of your team is able to follow up onto it. How does the matchup in your eyes, Miff? Well, you discussed a little bit of the CC and how the Solar Scarabs can keep this Jean Kui at bay. Does the Ho Yi change anything for you here about comfort levels with Jean Kui?
Ho Yi's alright into Zhang in that the mark is pretty decent against him. If he's trying to W key you down, the lower he falls, the more damage he'll take against the Ho Yi. But as far as like direct matchup goes, I don't think it shifts things up too much here. It's a decent leap, I guess, to escape the ultimate from Zhang. I'll be honest, man. I know that the rest of the casting team, or maybe specifically aggro, is a Jean Kui fan. I'm still not sold on this god. Sure, he's got great damage output. Sure, he's got AoE inside of the team fight. Is pretty decent to gods like Khepri, but Khepri not picked inside of this one as of yet. I don't know. It's simple. He W keys, and if he's ahead, he's winning, and if he's behind, he probably isn't.
Miff, do you know who Jean-Claude Van Damme is?
It's the guy from Die Hard.
Like Bruce Willis? That's what you mean?
Nah, I meant Jean-Claude Van Damme.
I'm sorry, and
It's a Christmas
I don't
movie.
want to get too far off kilter here. I needed to cycle back and check and just see where
He's a
that
French
came
philosopher.
from. You know what? I've made my decision. Goodbye. Scylla hovered here by the Solar Scarabs. This would be an interesting pick, not locked in. Morgan Le Fay instead for Baronic. And so if you need someone who's got range and the ability to peel, what?
Scylla's going to be an interesting pick. Not locked in, though. It's just good, dude. I don't know.
I appreciate
You're good at your job. I liked it.
I appreciate you, Mifflin.
Stop pointing at
Morgan
me.
Morgan Le Fay for Baronic.
Stop.
Does it provide some safety here in the mid lane against Jean Kui and Tiamat? You're not allowed to do that anymore. Yeah, that's the Mifflin rule.
What? No, that's a different thing. Morgan Le Fay, no, not exactly the safest pick up against Jean Kui. You don't have a traditional leap. You don't have any really great dash, so only really relying on the movement speed from the third ability to peel yourself off once Jean Kui does start slamming that W key. But luckily, CC immunity inside of the ultimate means you don't have to worry about this dodge E nearly as much.
Can these guys pick any faster? Come on. Daji for the Olympus Bolts here. So Daji is a pick that has been banned out against Lasbra. And suddenly my mind doesn't want to talk about Daji anymore here,
Why's that?
Mifflin, because Scotty is locked in. A slight ban rate, that's got to get, the 2% ban rate is probably, what, one ban against Barracuda at some point. Picked once by Barracuda and won once by Barracuda. Surprised is the buzzword on this death segment. Are you surprised that the composition the Bolts roll out in Game 3 involves a Zhang Kui and a Scotty?
That's a low ball, like low and slow, straight down the middle. You toss me here. Yeah, I'm surprised. We don't see either of those picks.
You're welcome.
Overly often. Scotty, clearly not a pick that we see too often either, but clearly the Olympus Bolts willing to play
be in
with
that
some
conversation. So it's not surprising to see Barra go back to it, but I guess it does make sense that he's the only one doing it. He was the only one willing to play Scotty last year for the most part. Been on the, what was it, the receiving end? No, he was the deliverer of this, hunting people down on this Daji. And so I won't be too surprised if he gets to that point late game. But realistically, you're looking for a lot of setup. I mean, the pull in. I'm gonna once again mention the tanky nature. Zhang Kui, not a warrior, not a guardian, but as tanks or as mages go, pretty hefty.
Heavenly Pop, Stewart, and inbound both stunned out. Barracuda needs one more basic, and him and Calder are able to do it. First blood goes to the Olympus Bolts. Not even a minute in the game. All the action in the last two matchups have been so focused on the right side. Well, you got a Zhang Kui and a Nike there. Who cares about that? Quick early blood here for the Bolts and duo.
And honestly, showing the strength of Calder early on, you get a great kill onto Stewart. You give it over to Barra. He's going to get that first blood advantage. Pressure that's built in the lane. And I'm watching the 1v1. Calder tanks some shots. That's going to help up against the Hou Yi. It's Mark of the Golden Crow, as great as it is, can't hit through Calder no matter what. So it's going to open things up. Also, Lazarus here.
Double tap there against Jake, but with Lasbra teleporting inbound, has nowhere left to run on the bear. He'll run as fast as he can, but Lasbra can catch him. And the Patron Saint of Pain, that's the title I was going to go with for him earlier. Able to bring that to Captain Twig. Now Brett does it here in the duo lane.
No beads for 90 seconds here for Stewart. So that is a lot of golden opportunities. Oh, Haddix.
Haddix in danger and not going to be able to get the heal right back. SOT and Scream team up to now fight back against Haddix. Deliver a little bit of that righteous justice right back at him for all those times he got camped last game. A couple little pops going up against it, so he's able to make it at least somewhat work here.
I am infinitely more interested in your lane now.
Benadu, he's interested in keeping everybody out of his lane. Barracuda teleports in. Scream gets some damage to the Piercing Moonlight, but Lasbra is still persisting up against Bronic. Not quite enough damage to Dragonflight.
Look at Jake.
Gets Bronic and Scream out, but Jake is here. He split his target.
Hello!
Barracuda with the clothesline. Takes down Scream, and now it's sought over the wall, trying to find Lasbra. Inbound has jumped in here. We turn this Conquest map into an arena game, and Sot is the one who comes out with the kill. Inbound goes with a triple stun. SOT and Baronic try and close the gap back in, but what a fight we've had in mid. Almost everybody has shown some face on this map. Even now, Haddix might be rotating over, but he'll back away. I thought Stewart was even going to make a try over here. Well, I thought we were going to see all 10 players here in the middle of the map just this early in.
Of opportunities for the Bolts. And unfortunately, we don't get to live in that world. We live in the world where he died because he didn't get that experience and wasn't able to fight back. And it was a good turnaround. Plus, a 3-man stun from inbound. I mean, it didn't result in a crazy turnaround, but it goes to show that the Scarabs have a lot more to offer here.
SOT, he'll take some poke, and ultimate from Haddix, and Lasbra will teleport right in, and a nice little basic follow-up after means another kill for the Olympus Bolts, and maybe one more as Scream sticks around a little too long by this blue buff. Why does he rotate his way back out? He'll secure that blue buff, and now it's Benadu versus inbound. Benadu is winning that fight. It's an ultimate out of Awesome Jake. Baronic is not winning that fight against the support. He's being forced into his own ultimate. Benadu gets the consume, but not enough damage. It's Awesome Jake who closes out the kill. A couple of basics after by the support. Drop him down and inbound. Not quite level 5 yet on this RDO, but watch out for Scream. A Riptide from Jake means he can get away, but it's a teleport in from the Piercing Moonlight. Lasbra pops himself right back in. Jake is low, and Jake is gone. Inbound cleans up the kill and at least makes it a 1-for-1.
Yeah, 1-for-1, but you lose mid for support. You're feeling just a little bit better if you are the Bolts, at least in terms of presence. And that was a good ult to make sure he got engaged. I expected something out of Lasbra, but so far they've been slowing it down. Beads are available. Lasbra's caught out.
Lasbra just gets clothesline walking towards the jungle. He'll drop the Powwow and find Scream. That's quick beads. Only Baronic is going to get yanked back, and Lasbra able to teleport to his ally and get him out of danger, so gets to walk away.
We have to watch Lasbra with bated breath now. Whether or not he shows face in the mid lane with Scream and Baronic having their beads down, that seems like pretty easy targets. But it's also been a little more slow rolling for him. I mean, Barra's got the hefty chunk, I think, of damage that I've seen in these earlier fights. So I'm watching to see if Lasber is going to be able to take more of an active role. He's going to have more player damage just by merits of where he's been. But
Inbound, looping
Barracuda
around.
here.
Stewart drops the Suns on top of Barracuda, but it's Stewart who's losing the fight between them. Scream teleports in with the ultimate, but it's Barra who strikes him first. Scream gets the trade out, and now it's a 2v1 up against Jake. He'll get stunned down, slowed by Inbound. The stun is good, and the Barra Claw after, plus one more basic. Scream picks up the double kill, and Venenu just a little too late to the fight.
if they can collapse on Baronic and get a mid for the duo lane, that's going to be big. But Lasber doesn't have the engage, and he doesn't have the follow-up. Venenu's on the other side of the map still, zoned out by Inbound. So a good call. I mean, that's a good trade. Admittedly, there's something. So Slaney in the pregame interview had mentioned the fact that some of the problems from the Scarabs has come from. Come on, guys, you gotta give me a second.
Lord.
To talk. Yeah, let him out of there. Come on. Was talking about how some of it was late game experience and just experience in general with this team. You get to see that experience from Barra there. He should have died much faster, but he still got a kill out of it. That was impressive from him.
Unfortunate ultimate by Lasbro. Misses all 3 shots against Inbound. Inbound probably wasn't too worried about it. Much this exact same thing in all 3 of our games so far today in this matchup.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of a lead. Not much to write home about, but the engage right now onto Lasber, they're making him regret it.
No Powwow up for him,
good
but Inbound
stun.
gets a stun right off of the teleport in. It's Baronic who puts him down with the ultimate, and Inbound is low, but he doesn't fall down until Haddix's ultimate takes him out. But Haddix gets stunned out, and SOT puts him in the dirt with the barrier. Another 2 kills up for for the Solar Scarabs as a whole. They tie up the kills, and they nearly tie up that goal. Less than 1,000 now between them.
For them to just flourish in a lot of these little 3v3 engagements. Oddly enough, most of them happening on the right-hand side of the map. Not where I would have put my money on it. But I think that Inbound is making a good difference for his team here.
Oh, Inbound in the middle of the rivers. They'll crash through. Inbound's down to half, and he'll
All
be
right,
able to
man,
dash away. A good stump, but an even better route by Barracuda holds him in place, and Calder deals the last second. Well, welcome back to lane, Stewart. You just got out of one fight, and you're right back into the fires again. It's Barracuda who picks up the double kill, and the Bolts can take a tier 1 tower.
How are they going to do that to me right after I talk about it? They've got enough of a lead to build off of here. They're going to start really being able to impact that around the Gold Fury on the left-hand side.
1,000 gold up for the Bolts, and maybe going to try and take something away here in the jungle, or maybe try and bait up a Gold Fury fight. Barracuda will start it up with his support right behind him. Barracuda taking a good chunk of damage, so is the Gold Fury, but Lasbra in the middle of all. He's going to have to use that Powwow, pull anybody that he can, but it's only going to be Inbound, and a quick collapse in by the Bolts to try and take him down, but Inbound able to walk away. The ghost of the card, not enough damage to take him down. It's
That's a good
Haddix
turnaround.
who trades out. It'll be SOT getting the credit for the kill. Venenu stunned out by Scream, and SOT just needs the last bit of
good
damage.
kill.
No, it's Scream who throws out the Shadow Shuriken to pop him. Lasbra is low, a big knockup by
Whoa!
SOT. It's a double kill, and the ricochet after by Stewart is enough to take him down. Barracuda low, Barracuda down. It's a kill for Stewart, and only Jake left alive, and the Solar Scarabs get a 4-for-none trade.
I mean, you called it exactly the way you have to see it. So much of an investment into Inbound, and he gets out alive. But not only that, you get a really good turnaround. Haddix, he just now finishes that Breastplate of Valor. Was not tanky, is not tanky enough to win this fight for them. And unfortunately, Lasbury uses a lot. Vin uses a lot at the very beginning and didn't have enough.
SOT just says, leave to Awesome Jake there. Says, do not come here. Inbound even dashes in to push him away. But it's going to be the Ricochet. Y'all should not pass. That's a good.
Yeah,
That's a good
'cause he's
one.
got the-
That's a good one. That is a
Now
good
he's
one.
got to see him again with even more interest. He's got the mannequins. He's got the Pythags. He's started up another tiny trinket. What his build is like in the next 5 minutes is going to dictate a lot of whether or not the Bolts can win this game or not.
Gotta imagine if he finishes out, he goes for the Hidden Blade. Inbound, he'll get caught inside the rivers again. A nice stun. Lasper gets some good damage, and that should be
That's good
a
control.
kill on the support. Inbound will fall down. Venenu gets it with the damage from the Cyclone. But SOT and the rest of the team has rotated over, but so has Haddix, to make sure that there's no further follow-up from the Scarabs to try and punish them for killing their support. Instead, it'll just be the one quick pick there by the Bolts. They do use Awesome Jake's ultimate to get it, and they do actually get the meditation burned away from Inbound, so you won't have that one for the next fight.
That's actually a big deal. 120 seconds that you're not going to have that available. Pyromancer's being started up. This is a good neutral objective with the disparity between these teams. If the Bolts are able to pick it up, that's a good advantage for them. But Sot's showing face.
Pyromancer
Oh my
low,
God!
Solar Scarabs, and SOT
just walked up.
specifically just walked on up and said, thank you very much. This objective looks really nice inside my pocket. He'll pop the barrier formation.
Scoop up a Fire Giant and feel very confident about it. Plus, Bear's on this side of the map, and the way he's been playing, he's 5-2-1, but he's got a lot of damage behind him that is deadly.
Lasbra, he'll get rooted out. Only level 13 on this Dodgy, and he's starting to feel the
Yeah,
pain
versus
of what
16.
Scream is able to do on this level 16 Tsukiyomi. Hasn't got that Transcendence fully stacked up yet, but maybe can get just a little bit closer if they can get a pick off against Barracuda or find Lasper. Lasper does get back to base, but now Barracuda is going to have to suffer. He'll throw out the Cauldron, the ultimate. Scream is low, pops his own ultimate and his beads, just trying to stay alive. Actually, not even the ultimates, the beads and the Aegis, and those aren't enough to get him out of there. River's Rebuke from Awesome Jake, and a Cauldron toss there by Barracuda, lock him down. That's enough to kill him.
You do still need to worry about Sot. We saw what happened with the last objective, and it seems like he's going for the same style of play. Hey guys, I'm here. What's up?
Hey guys, I'm going to walk forward, and I've got a bubble. Are you going to stop me? Who's going to be the one to stop him?
Oh my
This time, the Olympus Bolts do secure the objective, but they are really tugging at our heartstrings there. SOT has the bubble, and then he's going to make sure to get away from that one because he does have an ultimate of his own to pull himself away from that Pow Lao. So he'll save the bubble, expend the ultimate, and the Bolts do get the Fury this time. The objective does go their way, and the gold can swing back towards their side. 900, almost 1,000 gold now.
Save havens that they're going to have that are making it a little more... I mean, at 18 minutes, 19 minutes, not difficult for the Scarabs to dive under, but it definitely gives them some control that the Scarabs would like to strip away.
That's a full group up from the Scarabs, and a leap in the backline by SOT. He'll shove Haddix around and try and get some big damage. He's down to a quarter health. He uses the ultimate to try and walk away, but SOT will walk him right down, but it's a trade out. Inbound, loses his life, and Scream is caught in the middle of the tower. He goes down. Venenu, credit for that. Lasper up on the Pow Lao, trying to find anybody that he can. Stewart will immediately pop his beads and get himself out, but it's SOT now stuck in the middle of 4, surrounded, and Barracuda out of the jungle picks him off, and it's 3 down for the Scarabs for just a lone Haddix.
I mean, what an explosive fight. Yeah, you lose Haddix, but that's more than worthwhile. When it was just Haddix for inbound, not necessarily a great trade. Haddix for inbound and Scream, good trade. Haddix for inbound, Scream, and Sot, fantastic job in terms of what you're going to be able to get. Honestly, with the positioning of the Scarabs, if the Bolts want, they can hold this for 10 seconds and let Haddix respawn to be able to pick it up. Yeah, Jake's going to have to dip from the fight a little bit early, but ultimately everybody should be able to get all of this Fire
Bolts.
Giant. They're going to be just happy with this engagement. And I really like this turnaround. That is a great fight for them. The Tier 1 tower, I was just saying, shouldn't make a big difference. Does a lot of damage for them in that fight.
To finish their starter items, I'm looking pretty much at everybody on the Scarabs and Haddix. Haddix hasn't finished up that Mannequins, though I'm not sure if he even really wants to. Mannequin Hidden Blade, I imagine would be the one that he does go towards if he does finish it, or he could maybe just sell it. We'll see if the game even goes on that long for it to happen. It's a surge up to the right side. The Tier 2 drops down. The Phoenix is in the sights of the Bolts, but they're not willing to make a full commit just yet. Everybody kind of spread out here around this neutral objective.
The Fire Giant just wore off. So the likelihood of getting a Phoenix, in my mind, drops drastically, although I guess you do still have Tiamat minions that could come help out somewhere and somehow. And they've got their own minions that they're setting up. I actually like this. They're waiting for the group up, trying to pull the Scarabs out here. But it doesn't seem like it's going to work too well. They are going to defend this through and through. You have to keep your eyes on Sot and on Scream. With Fire Giant coming up in just a second, I can't imagine the Bolts trying to mount a fight under Phoenix. They're going to pull back pretty soon.
Now, funny enough, they group up all the minions and makes it just that much easier for Stewart to go ahead and take those ones out with the Ricochet, and Baronic with that Sigil can easily crop them out, especially if they're all grouped up nice and tightly there. But Awesome Jake will continue to delay these minions for as much as they can.
This
They're
is
buying
wildly aggressive.
as much time as they can. I'm not sure if their call is to really go for this Phoenix or if it's just to try and bait the Scarabs out. And they're spending a lot of time and resources on this side to do so. They drop the Tiamat Lizards. They drop a little bit of damage with the Riptide or push those minions around with the Riptide. But now the Bolts are backing up, maybe trying to pull those Scarabs forward.
They're going to be able to pull them out, but the Fire Giant's also up. Like, best case scenario, you get a fight against the Scarabs. Worst case scenario, you get a free Fire Giant.
Stun off the mark, inbound right in, has the bubble to try and zone away from Haddix.
It's
The
a
bubble
3v5.
will get popped. Haddix gets knocked up in the sky and pushed up against the Rivers as Jake drops them down. But nobody from the Scarabs are really
There it
caught
is.
inside. Scream, however, takes half of his health as the rest of the team of the Bolts take the Fire Giant. Inbound is all by himself. The stun is good, and he has no way to get out of it. Another stun by Haddix, inbound low, but he's able to crawl right out.
Oh, Lasper blinks forward. Lasper still has Pal out. He's going
Powwow
out.
up. That's going to be enough. Just the damage from alone will be enough to take down inbound. Scream is going to be just fine. Nobody else taken out just yet, but it's already one down for the Scarabs.
And this is good. You've got 5 people with Fire Giant, Tiamat minions, Calder, regular minions, and that FG buff, which I'm pretty sure I already highlighted. It's going to be a good siege for the
SOT in the back. It's 4 with the ult, but it's the Phoenix that's the target of the Olympus
damage?
Bolts. They get it out, but Baronic
Good kill.
is able to trade out inbound and at least get one for it. Haddix goes down, and it's a quick disengage by the Olympus Bolts. They get what they've been looking for the last couple of minutes in that right side Phoenix, but it does cost them Haddix to do so.
They've got 20 seconds without inbound. They might be able to catch off Baronic. He walked back to the right-hand lane, and Vin really wants that, and he gets the knockup.
The knockup is good. The ultimate does some damage against Diegas, but it's a Dragonflight out of Baronic, and an even better Riptide by Awesome Jake. Finds him out. Baronic gets caught out. Venenu credited to the kill. Stewart leaps away, and Lazarus slowed down by the Caltrops, but now inbound has respawned. It's a quick dash back in. Venenu is in the front line for everybody. He'll have to leap right back out. The knockup is good to get some damage against Scream, but inbound, he's looking for blood, he's looking for kills, and so is SOT. A leap in, but a River's Rebuke back online for Awesome Jake. Barracuda takes down inbound SOT, caught in the middle, and it's Lasbert dealing with Scream, picks him up with the powwow against Stewart, and it's only Scream left to defend, and he will not do so. Venenu picks him up, and the Bolts can close out Game 3 in the set.
Lasbert and Jake just doing their best bait impression. They're wiggling around saying, come on, you know you can kill me, you know you can fight me. Barra and Vin are laughing at full health, both with their beads. At the time, you still had Vin's Aegis available.
They always play against the level of their opposition. It doesn't matter if it's a top team or it's a bottom team, the Valhalla Valkyries. They went 3 no matter what.
You're going to drop it on that? You're going to drive by the Valkyries?
And now please talk about the game, Dave.
I will happily talk about the game. Awesome Jake looked awesome in this one. Took the Umoja away from inbound, and so that was an important pivot point here in picks and pans. And then Barracuda as well, Miff. They're throwing some unconventional picks out as far as Hunter goes here for Barra. We know he loves Scotty. Maybe some viability here in 8.9 with the way that the ability of the Mace Tree has kind of broken down. There were a couple of times, though, where we did see the immobility of the Scotty kind of jumped on, capitalized on by the Solar Scarabs, but ultimately looked good for Barra.
Yeah, I'd argue that Scotty is in a similar position as Morgan Le Fay and that they're both incredibly immobile gods. The difference being, though, Scotty makes up for that immobility with the ability to jump, I guess. And by jump, I mean she's just got more dudes. Like, she brought a dog. Morgan Le Fay has, unreactable CC.
Scotty can't jump, to be clear.
Yeah, she do be jumping though.
Like, she jumps as a fight.
Yeah,
she jumps you.
Yeah, you be getting jumped.
Right, and that's an important thing, Miff, to maintain your credibility here. We got to make sure that is very clear. Venenu deserves every ounce of love in the world as well here after Game 3. 22,000 damage on this Tiamat pick and the Solar Scarabs. And I think that just shows, I mean, the league, I guess if you ignore the 2-0 sets at the beginning of the weekend, which you're not allowed to do, I was going to say the league is in such a competitive spot, which I do think it is. The Kings really just showed up. The Leviathans showed up as well. And look, I'll fully admit I was completely wrong on the Dragons here this weekend. I thought they were poised for a 2-0 weekend. I thought they were going to bounce back after dropping a couple of games previously. Tough sleddings here for the Jade Dragons to go to.
Yeah, but they did say they've been feeling good about the improvements that they've been able to make. So if you are a Jade Dragons fan, it's not all doom and gloom, and no shame in 3-3 in the win-loss.
Now we're gonna do all the math and stuff before tomorrow. Don't worry. We've been harping on the top 2 spots being the most important. The Leviathans still have 2 games to play. The Titans still have 2 games to play.